Hello, Stephen Bedard here, and in this vlog, I want to take a few minutes to reflect as a pastor who is currently transitioning from one congregation to another. I have just another week and a half left here at Queen Street Baptist Church, and soon I will be co-pastoring with my wife, Amanda, at Brookfield Baptist Church, and that will be a subject for another episode as I reflect on what it looks like to be co-pastoring. But right now I just want to talk a little bit about what it's like going from one congregation to another and some of the feelings that go along with that. This is not something that's really been a part of my experience very much, even though I have been pastoring for about 25 years and have been ordained for 20 years and have been at a number of churches. Most of the time, I didn't actually go directly from one church to another. Really, the only time that happened was when I was a youth pastor at one church, and I ended up getting hired as an associate pastor at another church. And so that was a really interesting experience because I was actually being ordained by the church that I was youth pastor of. And so my very last Sunday there was my ordination service. And then the next Sunday I was at my new church as an associate pastor. So that's really the only time that happened. That happened very early on in my pastoral ministry. Most of the time, what happened is, even though I was looking for churches as I was coming to an end of my time as a pastor at various churches, that it didn't happen right away. Sometimes it happened just a month or two later, but I would have that break. Actually, at one church, the search committee came to hear me preach, and I wasn't preaching that Sunday, but I was giving my resignation. So the only thing that they heard from me was how I resigned. And it's kind of interesting how that worked out. But anyways, I most of the time ended up having a little bit of a break in between churches. But now I will be going directly from one congregation to another. And it is kind of an awkward time, especially as I wrap up my pastoral ministry here at Queen Street, that things are difficult to find my place as I'm focusing on my pastoral responsibilities, but many of my leadership roles are looking a little bit different because I can't follow through with anything that comes up. And so it is a time for me to really lean in on the lay leadership and to give them room to make some of the important decisions that have to be made. And so that is a part of what's going on. And I got to say that having this in the middle of a pandemic makes it that much more complicated. We're currently having just online services, and it's likely that even my last Sunday here will just be an online service. So I didn't realize at the time that I had my last in-person service, which would have been a month ago, and I had no idea at the time that would be my last service. I kind of thought at the time that maybe that would be just for a few weeks, but it looks like it is happening longer. So I haven't really had that time to say goodbye to people in the congregation. And because of COVID, I've not really been doing much in terms of home visitation or anything like that. We've actually had an outbreak at the church. We've had numerous people with COVID, and so we're trying to keep physical distancing as much as possible and trying to make sure that everything is remaining safe. So that really complicates things. So there's not necessarily going to be that kind of closure that you would hope to have as a pastor is leaving one congregation and is going to another. And then we will be moving to our next congregation. And I've never met any of the people in that congregation in person. I've talked to the search committee by Zoom. I have had some communication by email with a couple of other people, but I've never met any of these people face to face. And we are going to be starting there as pastors, and it's likely that our first number of services are going to be online as well. I don't know that for a fact, but I suspect that that's the way it's going to be. So that transition is a little bit different as well. And really what I want to share here is that a transition for a pastor from one congregation to another, it's never easy. It's full of emotions, even if there wasn't a pandemic going on. You're saying goodbye to people that you have invested in and have developed relationships with. And it's more than just a job that you're working at a place and you have people that you get to know. It's a little bit more than that. Pastoral relationship is a bit deeper than in the average job, and so it's difficult to say goodbye to people in that way. And then we are going directly from that to opening ourselves up to a whole new community of people that we don't know at all, or we don't know very well at all, and we are opening ourselves up to them, entering into relationships with them. Not knowing what that's going to look like, although I have a very good feeling based on the conversations I've had with the people from that church. And so there's a lot of emotion that is going on. But this is a time where we are trusting in God, and this is why I would never suggest just changing churches for the sake of changing churches. You have to believe that you're being called by God. You have to believe that God is in this in some way, because it's really the only way to make such a transition work. So we're looking forward to what ministry is going to look like, and we are handing over all of the feelings, the grief, the uncertainty, all of these things to God, trusting that He will guide us through this time of transition. So those are just some of the random thoughts I had about this time in my ministry. If you're a pastor and have transitioned from one church to another, I would love to hear your stories in the comments. I'd also love for you to subscribe to the YouTube channel and to visit me at my website, stephenjbedard.com. Thank you, and God bless.